There's some live rally going on right now. It's out in D.C. and this is after the Supreme Court justice had voted down uh, the ability of Trump to recall a vote or anything like that. Well, while this rally was going on, these NTD, I think is the name of the new reporting uh, network or whatever it is. Uh, there was some people there that started a new political party called Great Americans Fill the Gap or something like. I can't remember what it was. I've looked it up. I can't find it on the web anywhere. But apparently there's a new political party going around, and that just started up on Thanksgiving, and they're talking about they was just talking about how abortion is going to be the number one priority for this for when Biden and Harris take over, which is kind of weird that I just seen the Time magazine pick the person of the year and it was two people, Biden and Harris, and I was like, how did person of the year, and it ends up being two people and they haven't even done anything yet. They just got elected, or they supposedly got elected. And they haven't, and the electorate hasn't even voted. It hasn't even, what is it, December 16th or something, or whatever it was, December, whatever date in December that the electorate comes up with the who they say is going to be the next president. Anyway, but these news reporters were talking about abortion being the number one problem, and they got ATF right now under Trump is going around. They raided a company. They're doing that are building people to build their own weapons and stuff because some of these companies they want to do this, that, and that. Anyway, a lot of people like it's America. People like doing their own stuff. What can I say? But they're buying parts and they assemble their own weapon type. They take to the range or whatever to guard their home for whatever. But they make like making their own weapons, and I don't have a problem with that. They get it cheaper by getting parts. Well, they're not parts because they have to do some machining and stuff to make them actually work. So they're not actually workable. You can't just take them and slap stuff together. So they have to do machining to get them to work. But they're right now the ATF is raiding. They raided people the business that was making them yesterday, or one business was making them yesterday, because apparently some criminals ordered some. Like, how's this, criminals, you got prison. What doesn't happen in prison? They got people that are murdered in prison. They got people that are selling drugs in prison. There are drugs being delivered into prison. They got prostitutes in prison. I'm not talking about the people that they rape or the people that turn into homosexuals in prison. I'm talking about prostitution. They got all this stuff that is supposed to not happen. I mean, that's the most controlled environment there is, and they still have it happen. It still happens in prison, and they think out here in the public that they're going to be able to control criminal activity. You're not going to be able to control criminal activity. It's they can't control it out here, but they want to take everybody's rights and freedoms away from, so they can control criminal. They're trying to make prison. They can't control it in prison, and yet they want to control it out here in the public. I mean, where's the ridiculousness? I was reading something. It's true though. I mean, you forget you don't think about stuff. And there's people saying, who came for this, had to start a new country because of religion and all this other stuff, and the taxes and all that, and everything was, they pilgrims came here to escape persecution from religion in Britain or wherever, and and all the things they came here for to escape the persecution in the country they left. And they thought, well, we're going to go here and start something new. Then they get here, and all the people, it was like all the people that wanted more than freedom came here and started setting up all these laws, regulations, rules, saying, oh, well, we'll make it better with laws, regulations, rules. Nobody can mess with your freedom. And now it's over 200 years later, that's all they're doing. I mean, they've just slowly progressed, and we're heading, it's heading toward communism. I mean, basically, the politicians were talking socialist rule and communist endeavors in front of the U.S. citizenry, and they got voted in, which makes me wonder, 20 cars going and honking at a Biden rally compared to tens of thousands of people going to a Trump rally. Unless all those people were like, oh yeah, we're actually anti-Trump, and we're just here to make all the Trump people think that they're going to get the vote next time around. I don't know how this guy got this many votes, except unless people just got tired of Trump, opening his mouth. I got no problem. Whatever he wants to say is whatever he wants to say, and if he wants to say this president, not a problem. But what I think lost him a lot of value and following is that he's self-aggrandized. He just patted his own back, which not a problem, because nobody was patting him on the back. Nobody was helping him. He had to pat his own. He had to motivate himself. But the way he did it, he just openly did it instead of I don't know. This is one weird situation that this country is like, wow, we're just getting back to normalcy with Trump, building up jobs, and then I really think this government is pro-communist. I do. I think it didn't. I think, well, we're going to give them one last hurrah with Trump. Well, I think that's what happened. There's all these Democrats are practically pro-socialists. I mean, they started. The government has wanted health care since like the late 60s. They said, man, if we could get health, that's a lot. They're just all they're thinking about is money. They're not business people. Some of them might have ran a business nowadays, because all the people say, well, no, these guys have ran business. They're just politicians. They've been life politicians. And, so that what happened is people in business said, well, I'm going to go in there. I got a decent business. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to show these people how to run a business, and they just get absorbed or get kicked out because they don't follow they don't realize how powerful the lifer politicians are. They got so many people in there that are lifer politicians, and they know how to pull cords against other people, and that's just basically what's happening. Is all these lifer politicians, and how do we get the lawmakers that have been infringing? Laws are basically infringements. I mean, we have the Constitution. That's we know not to commit crime. And you don't need a law upon a law upon. You don't need 10,000 laws for one. You have a crime. Okay, you don't want people murdered. Okay, so you don't need to write 10,000 laws against murder. You know it's wrong to murder. And it's self-defense is not murder. Except people are trying to turn it that way because of all the laws they start writing for all these things that are criminals say, oh, we don't want killed if we break into your house. Maybe we're drunk. Maybe we're at the wrong address, or maybe we're just looking for food because we're hungry. Well, there's a lot of different steps between you being hungry and what caused you to break into a house to steal food. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, there's people that are breeding that don't have money, and people say, well, we have a right to. You can show me wording that says that people have a right to have sex. Now, there are people that say, oh, it's we have a right to be free, and that automatically thinks it's free to do anything. Well, that means free to commit murder, free to what? Rape, free to child molestation, and all that. The irrationality of laws that are being written and why they're writing them is complete infringements on our natural rights as human beings, which is what the Constitution and the amendments are supposed to be. The Bill of Rights is supposed to be. It's like this is your rights as human beings. It wouldn't matter if there was a government. This is what we've realized. Your rights are, and we're going to put them in writing. And these don't let these be infringed, because these are your rights. As before government was even formed, these were your rights to protect yourself, to protect your freedom, to protect your movement. You shouldn't have, and that's what the Constitution is all about, or the Bill of Rights is all about, is your natural freedoms of what is to be. It doesn't matter. It doesn't consist of needing a government to protect them, and government isn't protecting them. A government is a criminal. It's just organized crime, is all it is. And all these people, and it's been around for so long. Back in the days of caveman and stuff, people got together and realized, well, we can get by with doing nothing if we can get enough villages to give us our weapons we need and our food we need, and all we got to do is criminalize. Somewhere along the line, the act of criminalization took place in cavemen or wherever, to where they gathered enough, the fear of enough villages that your stuff is going to be stolen from you, your children are going to be stolen and raped, and given back, and raped by, they don't know who, what, a different tribe. Maybe the tribe had a certain belief system, or didn't even need a belief, because that'd be religion. I mean, where did religion come in? It'd have to be something real. I mean, the more civilized people get, the more belief structure. There was a time when okay, belief structure might come from answers that they don't have, or questions they don't have answers to. So if something came up, a belief was put into place, or they came upon reasoning to, well, this is happening because whatever. And so that just grew into a religion. And then all the religions, being that it wasn't one human race, and the language barriers and everything else kept people from, until it was large enough that, and people met other people, tribes were large enough to come across other tribes, and they traded, whatever. I don't even know what I'm, talking about. Freaking cavemen, Neanderthals, or Neolithics. Anyway, has nothing to do, religion is a belief structure, and that's what you believe. It's like you're raising a family under a belief, but should it be under a belief that's going to if you raise criminals in a family, which there are families that are criminals, and they raise criminals, and they've done that for who knows how many generations, and that's all they do. In fact, there's some that they're criminally insane, because that's all they are, is crime. I don't mean that they're bouncing around in a rubber room. I mean their whole life is crime. There is nothing that they don't do or say, and you can't even tell the difference between them and a normal citizen when they talk, because their involvement in crime is so deep that they can speak normally, but their thought is the insanity. I mean, their thought is a whole different a parallel, then if they can talk to you, and if they have other people that are a part of their criminal insanity, like family or whatever that was brought up, or even that or realize the same thing that they did, and when they speak the same words, and you think they're just speaking normal, the insanity of crime, which is what I mean by criminally insane, is a total different reference points. You know, they can say, well, oh, your house looks safe, and you think, oh, good, my house looks safe, but they're thinking safe to rob, and you're thinking safe from robbery. You know, I'm not just saying it's like that. I'm just saying that's approximately what it's like, and that's what this government is. It's just an evolved, organized crime, and now they're just wanting to change. You know, they said, oh, we gave you your rights. They didn't give us our rights. They realized what people had already before there was government. And they said, here, look at this, see this, and realize this is yours. They're not, and they said, don't let this be infringed. They didn't say that they was going to stop it. In fact, they don't have any laws governing people from infringing and writing laws against the infringement. And that's where the citizenry needs to come in and say, we want laws to not infringe our rights. We don't want you writing laws against our rights. We don't want people in there that can control like marionettes the actions of people coming in there, because like Biden been in there 47 years. This Grassley's been in for over 60. He was in there in like 58. Before I was born, Grassley, and he's still in there. And I don't hear about anything about him until he's time for him to be elected, and his head pops up like a freaking snake or like a water worm poking his head out of the sand. And oh, by the way, I'm here. I've been here for, you know, and then I don't even think he brags about how long he's been there. He said he just tells all the stuff that he's done, and people say, oh, he's done all that stuff, then he must know all about God. Yeah, that's the problem. The government is written and convoluted by all these people that have been in there for decades, and even these lawyers. All that we have in there is lawyers, because all they write is laws, and the problem is there's too many laws now, and that's infringing this country of freedom with all these laws. We don't need more laws. We need less people committing crime. And laws ain't going to stop criminals. I mean, laws have been written for probably 10,000 years, and there's still crimes are more problematic now than they were 10,000 years ago. I'm sure there's fluctuations where it's grown at certain times and certain ages because of certain reasons, but it's continually growing. There's more people. I mean, they hire criminals now for security agencies. They hire criminals now that have hacked computer systems, and they make more than people banging out a living that had their lives ruined by the hackers. This is getting ridiculous. And they keep thinking, well, we just get somebody else to. The problem is, when you elect a politician, you're basically taking away your freedom of speech. It's your right to speak freely. And when that person goes up there and starts talking, I mean, when you say you elect somebody, do you agree with every single thing they do? Then you don't agree with that person. And that's the whole problem. And when they say, I'm going to do this, and they never do. None of these people get into politics. They politic their way in, and then once they're there, they're consumed by all these people, these lawyers that say, well, you know, it's nice that you said that, but in reality, and then they get a fear built up and thinking, wow, I built my way up in here, and then it's going to make me look terrible by I'm not going to be able to do this. And they say, well, see, then they give them a whole new training schedule of how to view their constituents, how to talk to their people that voted for them, how to, you know, and all the people in their area, and then how to get them to believe, well, what you're doing now is better than what you had planned, or to throw a red herring at them and say, well, yeah, that was nice what I had to do, but what's more important, and then they just go after somebody's agenda. Whoever's screaming, if there's somebody in a county and the news media is covering this, and they need they think, well, we need laws, and that's the problem. Everybody thinks they need new laws, and it's the law. They think, well, laws are going to do it. People speed all the time. People commit crimes. Prison. Look at prison. Crimes are committed in prison all the time, and that is the most controlled area of society, and they can't stop it with cages, armed guards, systems where people move at different times, and they can't control the crime. And you want more laws out here to make it a prison. That's what you're doing by constantly thinking that new laws will help society gain control of the problems in it. It's not going to help. What you have criminals that are getting by with stuff because police are like, they're using them in this, or they're getting kickbacks from the crimes. Everybody's committed crimes. From the presidents, you've had crimes, presidents committing crimes. So all the way from the top to the bottom, crime is being committed. Laws aren't going to stop it. It's still going to happen. People find loopholes. They keep writing. Billionaires make a bunch of money, and other billionaires or millionaires don't want them doing it, or these low-profile politicians say, well, I don't want that guy being a billionaire. I met him and I didn't like his attitude, so I want to write laws. And that's what they do. They'll meet somebody they don't like. It'll ruin their popularism, because that's basically, they're not problem solvers. They don't solve any problems. They create problems by writing laws. They write laws for this group of people that moan and groan about, oh, this needs to happen, and we need to. It's all this racism, everything new. People, anytime anybody new comes along, any group or whatever, it's always questioned. Because anything new, if you look at a food, if you go to a restaurant and somebody brings you a food that you didn't order, and they put it in front of you, here, try this, and you protest it without trying it. You didn't ask, well, is it free? Do I get my meal plus this? And that's the problem. That's where all this stuff comes from. And, I'm figuring people aren't going to quit breeding, which is a big problem. One of the biggest problem on this planet is people that just breed. And the constant breeding is causing problems. It's creating burden. The more people there are, the more stuff that's needed, the more area that's needed, the more pollution is created, the more people they're going to create, which is going to create more burden. And it's something that nobody, there's some people in some countries like Japan and Italy that's kind of backed off breeding, and they realize, man, there's way too many people, and it's not necessary for me, it's other people, and the other people, the senselessness is taken over, and that's what's happening. That senselessness has brought this election, and has helped this government turn into a communist government, which is, I'm sure, maybe a decade or two away from pure communism. I'm not even saying, it might be even shorter than that. It might be by the 2030, this country's going to be, it's not going to be called communism, but they're going to raise the tax. I mean, Biden said he's going to raise taxes. He said no. He said he's going to get rid of Trump's tax breaks, and he's going to raise taxes. And that's exactly what this government wants, because they want more money. That's how they make their money. That their whole business structure is our tax system. They don't care if they don't have a product. Their product is selling themselves, and that's it. They haven't solved any problems. The only problems they solve is telling you that you have a problem, grabbing an agenda, throwing it at the media, and the media saying, "Oh, we're who's controlling the media?" There was like, you can see the media. This why this seems senseless to even talk about because nobody listens to my video, and all they listen to is popular. More popular they are, and it's like, yeah, it's great for me, and everybody just. It's just like they scoot further in their seat forward and say, yeah, that guy's great. And they just slowly, crawl their butt as a mass of a million people toward this one person that's, making money off popularity. Might not have solved any problems. Might have solved, made them smile. Ah, this person is happy. But these people, in reality, I don't know. I haven't met any, but if it's anything like popular people, they aren't that nice in person. They might show a smile at you, but then they'll have enough people around them to close a gap and be able to walk away from you without having to confront you or you confront them. And that's how popularity is. It's a smile with a large fence around it that keeps people like you from climbing their people fence to get close to their happiness. You're not going to get there. You're going to have to create your own. And that's what this country's about, and that's what they talk about, and that's what you believe. But unless you have an idea, and this country, it's the popularity strips ideas from people. Government strips ideas from people. None of the stuff the government comes up with is their own. They'll put it forward, and that's the problem. It's not their idea, and they don't know anything about it. And that's why it takes so long for them, because they have to strip people of how to fix this, how to fix that, and nothing is their own. And they're just, well, we need more money because we need to, they think, well, this is so much work gathering, stealing ideas from everybody else. And so that's, this country is becoming too convoluted with all the laws and all these people there's no, they're not stopping themselves. They're not going to stop themselves because if you could go to work and give yourself a raise whenever you wanted to and say, we need more money, and then just everybody agrees and they all get a raise to whatever percentage to say, well, to cover we need an allowance, or we need more money because cost of living allowance. The government is the only people preaching cost of living allowance that is actually getting a cost of living allowance. I mean, I don't even know people in business for themselves. I mean, lately though, there's been a greed of. I mean, look at the price of cars. This cost of living allowance is costing all these people that work for these people that give themselves cost of living allowances, which raises the prices of everything around. And they're saying, well, you don't get $15 an hour. And I'm telling you, it's unless you live in a commune, you can't unless you live in a tent. Unless they start hiring homeless people for $10 an hour, and not have to pay tax. Maybe that's what they should do. You make $10 an hour, you don't have to pay taxes. It's under a certain limit. You shouldn't have to pay taxes on if you only make $10 an hour, because if you make $10 an hour and they take 35% of your tax, you're making like $6.50 an hour. So maybe there should be a certain, if you're making $10 an hour, okay, you don't have to pay taxes on that. There's no income tax on $10 an hour. That would be one way to, since they don't want to give $15 an hour to people, which is the only way you're gonna, you can sustain. And you're not making $15 an hour. When you make $15 an hour, they're going to take a percentage of that. Like 30% of the $15 an hour. I don't know. I think it's maybe they dropped it down. Maybe it's 20% now with Trump's new tax break. it's given a little bit more to the taking a taking the income tax grab away. Anyway, I don't know. I'm just saying it's there's a new party out. I don't know if it's going to help because it's going to be a political party, and guess who? If it's anything like the Independent Party, which just I started out when I first voted, I voted Republican. And then I realized how just they're just greedy, and I didn't like Democrats because I didn't like. I mean their mascot is a donkey, and I just I'd rather feel anyway. Republicans too greedy, but now I was an independent or I was a reform, and then reform turned into something else, and when I went to re-register, they said, "Well, we don't have Reform Party," and they do. There is, but they don't, apparently there's no voting platform for a Reform Party, and they say, "Well, the Reform is independent." So I voted, and with them allowing Bernie Sanders, a socialist, into the Independent Party to run on their platform, I'm like, I don't want to run independent. I'm not gonna vote independent, and all the other like the Constitutional Party, they're a bunch of oh we fear God, and I'm not really into religion, so I don't want to run. It's I've been around. It's been with companies that are like I worked out as was working for this place out in Salt Lake City, and it was too much religion for me out there. I just couldn't. I just like, man, I'm not like this, and I had to get away from that. So I just realized that I'm not. I'm just not. I'm more freedom and rights. But even the Constitution has. There's something in there that there's certain people that can just take. They have I can't remember what it was where they can just take your land. So I'm all for freedom, but I mean there's when they start stealing stuff, that's thievery. And there's something in the Constitution that there is it's almost, I don't know if it's a clause. I was looking for it, but I don't know where it's at, but it's like people are allowed, if they need, if they need your land or something like that, they can just walk in and take it. Can't remember what it's called. But then individuals think that if you're constitutionalists, then as individuals, if they want, say they got a business or something and they want your land, see that's almost like communism, where they say it's like corporate communism almost. So, and that's basically what this country is. But it's almost it's a divide between corporate communism and political, and it's not even political because it's backed away from political, and it's people elected official communism, because it's not really, they don't politicize that they want more taxes just for more money so that they can pay off people to popularize themselves, get elected, get kickbacks, get land thrown to and the process of all these lawyers knowing how to hide all this stuff within the government. It's criminal. It is basically, it's so convoluted that these people we need laws against people writing infringements to our rights. We need term limits. In fact, you shouldn't be allowed to go in and serve. You shouldn't even be allowed. They shouldn't have I mean, they apparently you serve one term as a congressman or something, you automatically get retirement or pension for life. I don't think that you should get retirement from government. I think you should have to, if they're in there, they had an idea, but now it's just like everybody else, like songwriters, they have some songs to write, but then they get the popularity and they get addicted to that popularity and they want to keep within that popularity. So they start stealing stuff, and stealing songs or writing, they'll write anything just to get in the news, or they'll do drugs and make themselves look like, oh, look at me. They'll do all this stuff comes from being in the limelight and the feeling of people thinking about them or whatever. The look at me they'll do anything for the look of me, and that's where they come in with even bad news is good news, and it's all this stuff is about popularity. But this, when is the people going to say anything? And all these people are, they push this religion forward, and they say, well, you got to be and government loves it when religion is pushed because they know these people are compliant. They'll speak up. They'll go to a rally and they'll all speak up, and all the politicians and elected officials say, "Oh, look at that rally! They're really speaking," and they can turn it off because they know nothing's going to happen. There's a bunch of people are going to speak, and they can come to, and these people are running around like emperors, and because they know they don't have to do anything. People are speaking until it might affect their vote. If it's not around the time of voting, they don't have to do anything until it comes around time of voting. So if they're every 2 years or every 4 years, nothing gets done for 2 years or nothing gets done for 4 years, or they'll speak like, yeah, we'll get something done as soon as if I get reelected, we're going to do something about this. And so it gives them another 2 years. And then they'll jump to another platform and say, well, I'm going to run for, instead of Congress, a House in the state, I'm going to run for, Congress or whatever. They jump out of where they are and they're going to run under something else to say, well, I want to move forward, because I want to take your ideas higher. And they don't care about your ideas. It's all them. It's their own platform, their own agenda. They don't care about you. They'll just grab that. Oh, is this what you want done there? Let me talk about this. And and they hold that up, and then nothing happens. So hope you people are happy with who you voted in, because I don't think anybody's going to be happy these next 4 years. I mean, sometimes a quarter of the population is happy because that's basically what votes in the elected officials is like a fourth or a third of the population. The rest, half the population don't vote, and the half population that does, only a little bit more than half of them put the people in office. So you got a fourth to a quarter to a third of the population of this country actually agreeing what's done. And then once these elected officials get in and they get their charged agenda from people that actually gave them money, all you did was vote for them, and now they got to turn to the people that gave money and do, because those people want something for their money. You want something for your vote? Okay, they're going to say something. Those people that paid money to put that person in there want something for their money. And that's the reason all these politicians, you think, well, they're lying. They said they was going to do that. That's the problem. Yeah. They talked for your vote. They got it. Well, what are you going to do now? I mean, what do you want? You want money for your vote? Or you want this for your vote? Yeah, that's where it's at. Yeah.